Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maryam. I'm the host of television, and I want to thank you so much for joining in today. I have a phenomenal guest. His name is Shawn McCray, and he's going to tell us some things about what he's been doing here in the city of Newark, because you all know that I am from Newark, New Jersey. I live in Newark, New Jersey, and Shawn has been working with our youth. We've been having so many issues with violence going on, but he has a remedy for all of that. And I just want to say to Shawn, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. And when I was thinking about putting the show together, I was thinking about the violence and stuff that's going on, you know, with our youth here in the city. And you know what came to my mind?
What's
the
that?
last time you and I were together was when?
Down at Delaney Hall, Delaney Hall, down at the county
Close.
jail. No, at the county jail.
At
right?
the county jail.
That's not,
Essex County Correctional Facility.
right. We was at the facility.
Yes, you came because Delaney Hall is next door to
Right,
Essex County
right,
Facility. So we
right.
were at the correctional facility
Oh, okay.
because I was going in there doing some training.
Right.
And I remember when we came inside, the young, because most of the brothers that were in there, they were like 20, 25, 30, they were young.
Right.
And soon as they saw you, you know I didn't know this, right? As soon as they saw you, they said, "It's the coach." Mm-hmm. They called you the coach.
Right.
So what I want you to do is just take a few minutes to tell the audience about a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. I'm a product of Hayes Home Projects, and you know I always shout out where I'm from because I think where I'm from made me the person that I am, even though I came from, you know, a neighborhood where you're not supposed to make it.
Yes.
You know, I don't know. I'm real community. You know, I was raised in that area, in that era of the early '70s when the Black Power movement was kind of strong,
Yes.
and you know everyone was trying to empower, you know, women and men at the time, and women really held down the families, you know, back
Right.
then. And it's just where I come from made me want to give back to my community because somebody gave back to me when I was growing up as far as like playing basketball. You know, that kind of started me with venturing outside of my community once I started playing sports. And, you know, Paul McPleasant, who was working with St. Rocco's at the time.
Okay.
You know, I had attended St. Rocco's. I went to Cleveland and up until 6th grade.
Those are elementary schools, St. Rocco
Right, Cleveland Elementary.
and Cleveland Elementary.
Right here in Newark,
Right.
which is
Yes.
still, you know, right there on 17th Avenue and Bergen Street. And I grew up on 17th Avenue where my building was.
Right.
And, you know, I got a scholarship to go to St. Rocco's, an academic scholarship from Cleveland, me and about 5 other my classmates. You know, they had back then it was the Victoria Foundation, and they would provide academic scholarships to underprivileged youth. And
Okay.
that's how I got to St. Rocco's, and I went there for 7th and 8th grade, and did pretty good. You know, that was the first time being outside of my community. You know, I stayed in my community a lot. I was always with my mom, and you know, just being able to go outside the community just to see how other people live, because you know, growing up in the projects, you think everybody's poor,
Right.
you know, which
Yeah.
it wasn't that way. And you know, going there, you know, I did 2 years there, and then I got another academic scholarship to St. Benedict's. So I went to St. Benedict's, which I didn't want to go. I wanted to go to the neighborhood school, Central,
Yes.
where all my friends were going. And, you know, and then St. Benedict's was all male. And I didn't want to be in that environment. And, you know, my mom talked me into going. I actually got accepted into St. Benedict's, Seton Hall, and at the time, Essex Catholic, which is now closed.
Okay, yeah.
And I chose St. Benedict's. It was walking distance from my home. And I didn't have to wear uniform. You know, at that time at St. Benedict's, you can wear your regular clothes. So, you know, I went that far, and then, you know, I was trying to fail on purpose because I didn't want to be at St. Benedict's.
You tried to fail on purpose.
On purpose, you know, because I didn't want to be there. And I thought me failing, they would put me out, which they didn't. And I kind of dug a hole for myself as I got older, because then my senior year, I was actually in St. Benedict's and Father Ed, who's still there now and still looks the same, and I'm trying to figure that out. But, you know, he told me, we have free periods in St. Benedict's, and I was on my free period, and he walked in and he said, "McCray, what are you doing?" I said, "This is my free period." He said, "Well, why are you not doing any work?" I said, "It's my free period. I'm just hanging out to my next class." He said, "You know you're not graduating." And I said, "I'm not graduating." This was October of my senior year. And I said, "What do you mean I'm not graduating?" He said, "Well, you don't have 4 years of religion. You don't have 4 years of that. You didn't need that in public school, but you needed it at St. Benedict's." So I said, "Another year?" I said, I didn't want to be here the 3 previous years I was here. There's no way I'm doing another year here. So I went home, talked to my mom. Next morning, she transferred me. We walked in, and the basketball coach and Father Ed was like, "Where you going?" I said, I'm going down to Central. I'm not staying here no extra year." And he was like, "No, it's good for you. You need to stay here." They tried to talk me into it, but I transferred October of my senior year, went to Central, and different environment, you know, but I grew up in that environment, so I was used to being in that environment. But I thought it was the best move I ever made, actually. You know, now looking back on it, you know, St. Benedict's taught me a lot of discipline, which I didn't have, you know, in my community and in my household.
So when you say different environment, because I'm familiar with St. Benedict's and where it's located,
Right.
and Columbus home. So what was the different environment?
The students, you know,
Okay.
Caucasian students. I've never been around Caucasian kids.
At St. Benedict's?
At St. Benedict's.
Okay.
Even, I mean, yeah, that was my first time interacting with another race, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
outside of my own. You know, Spanish people didn't live in the projects I came from, so I never interacted with Spanish and you know, Caucasian people. I never interacted with them until I went to St. Benedict's. So when I say different environment, it was more calm and non-violent, you know, and, you know, wasn't fights going on, and, you know, there's no locks on the lockers like they are in regular high school. Like, it was
Right.
just a different environment that I adapted to, you know, and I just think when I transferred, it kind of, I wanted to be around people I grew up with.
Okay.
That was just, I don't know why, you know, not that I didn't want to broaden myself to be outside of my comfort
But
zone.
it's because that's what you knew.
That's what I knew,
Right.
and yeah, that's what I knew. That's what I knew. Yeah, but I mean, when I went to St. Rocco's, I was kind of out of my comfort zone. You know, I was in another neighborhood.
Right.
I was around kids that mom, dad picked them up. They had probably 10 uniforms. I might have had 4. You know, because
Okay.
at St. Rocco's you had to wear a uniform.
Right.
So I wasn't blessed with 2 weeks worth of uniforms. I had to wear what I had to wear for that week, wash it out, and wear it
Okay.
again the next week. So, you know, then it was different. You know, kids come to school, they can go buy stuff. I didn't have money, you know, so it was like, you know, it was just a different environment, and I was comfortable in the environment I grew up in.
That
because
you were familiar with.
Right, it taught me
Right.
how to, you know, do more with less, you know,
Okay.
so as to say.
Okay, so now you were also part of a crew called the Zoo Crew.
Right.
What was the Zoo Crew?
Well, the Zoo Crew was, actually it was the projects I came from. When they closed our projects down, they moved us on Clinton and Chadwick, the
Okay.
townhouses on Clinton and Chadwick, right behind Bergen Street School, and which is now tore down. This is my first time ever seeing a school tore down in the city of Newark, like knocked to the ground. But they moved us there. I was a sophomore in college at the time, and I came home, and you know, the building just looked different when I came home from college, and my mom was packing, and I'm like, "What's going on?" She was like, "Well, we're moving." I said, "Well, where are we going?" She was like, "They're moving us on Chadwick Avenue." I'm like, "Where's that?" You know, I never ventured off on that side of town. You know, the South Ward, I always was in
Right.
the Central Ward, or I went to St. Rocco's, which was in the West Ward. And we moved on Chadwick, and actually some of my friends that lived in my building, they moved there as well. And my best friend actually moved 5 doors down from me. So we was always friends. The Zoo Crew came about because some of the guys was throwing parties, you know, like renting out different clubs in East Orange, Newark, Irvington, throwing parties for the youth. You know, it was really nothing going on. And they had Skate 22 in Union. They used to, every Wednesday, they used to have Skate 22. And we thought we needed to come up with a name so people know who's throwing these parties when you put it on the flyer. So a friend of mine was like, well, they call us animals. We living in the caged environment. Let's call ourselves the Zoo Crew. So we was like, oh wow, Zoo Crew, yeah, that sounds good. So it stuck. And the name itself was based on people throwing parties.
Okay.
It became from 10 people to maybe 30 people that was a part, claimed Zoo Crew, that was a part of Zoo Crew, but the base of it was on Chadwick Avenue. And the guys that really started it was from Hayes Home Project. So, but it was based off of doing parties for the youth, like getting people to come to the parties, but other people was doing other things,
Okay, so what are some of those other things that
selling
they were doing?
drugs. People were selling drugs in the community, and but the proceeds was, it wasn't everybody,
Right.
People that was throwing parties wasn't selling drugs. So, but they incorporated all that together. Like I started doing basketball in '96. The name came about in 1991. That's the first year we said Zoo Crew t-shirts, flyers.
Okay, yeah, I saw those.
Right,
Yes.
1991 was the first time we came about with that name, but people was throwing parties around that time, and people were selling drugs. So at that time we was all, I might have been in '96. I want to say I was like 20. I was about 30 years old. But when the Zoo Crew started, I was about 22, 23, fresh out of college. My friends were street guys.
Right.
A lot of them didn't. They graduated high school, but they didn't go off to college. So I had different experiences that they had. But that's where the name came about. And then '97, there was a federal raid of the Zoo Crew.
Right.
And, luckily I wasn't looped into that. A lot of not a lot of my friends, they said I locked up 31 people. Probably was 10 people that was actual people of the Zoo Crew. I don't know who those other people were.
Oh, right. No, I remember reading about that in the paper.
But that happened because we protested, because the officer killed Danette Strawberry Daniels right on the corner.
I remember that. We protested that too.
Right, and it was, at the end of the day, I don't care what people do, they're human beings. And, this young lady, pregnant at the time, was murdered by the police.
Right.
And they thought she was doing something, but she was actually asking the young kid, 16-year-old kid, for a course. She was like a peddler in the neighborhood, asking for change, and the cops pulled up, looked like they was doing a drug transaction, which they wasn't. And then one thing led to another. She died right there on the corner, and people got outraged. And
as they should.
Right, rest in peace, Amiri Baraka. He came down and riled up the people. So we in the community, we were the face of the community, Zoo Crew. So, we was throwing massive block parties at that time in the summertime for the whole community. We would feed all the kids, anybody in the community. We throw a block party every summer for like 5 summers. So we were kind of the face of that community. So we protested with them, and while we were protesting, you have police officers coming up there saying, what are you guys doing? You sell drugs, you do this, you do that, you shouldn't be protesting. So the police Sharp James sided with the community.
Former Mayor Sharp
James sided with the community, and he suspended the officer, Robert Leaks. And the police force didn't like that. So they had a press conference of their own down at City Hall, and Sharp James spoke, and they turned their backs on him. And I was, they literally turned around while he was speaking and had their backs to the mayor. And I was like, wow, like this is...
Because he supported the community.
Because he supported the community. And I thought that was deep, that this man signs your checks and is running the city, and you actually, it wasn't all police officers, but the ones that felt as though he slighted them by not sticking with the officer. And we had problems, man. The police would come around, harass us for no reasons, and at the time, current Mayor Baraka was, not hanging on Chadwick.
Right.
But he would
he lived in the area, though.
Lived in the area. He would come around, and he would give us like books that tells us about the law and what the police can and can't do. And some of us read that stuff. And when they would roll up, we would stand there and say, no, you don't have the right to do this, you don't have the right to do that. But
so he was empowering you with information.
With information at the time, right. And, it came to the point where, the police just, I think it was because of protesting, but they ran down and arrested people, and
And there were some people, like you said, who were selling drugs.
right,
I mean,
they were,
that was going on. I mean,
right.
we all knew that.
They were doing illegal things, but
right.
I mean, it
but
came
still,
about,
it wasn't everybody.
right, and a lot of people did get missed, and so the investigation they said they were doing, I don't think they were doing it for the amount of time they said they were. I think it started once that marching and protesting started, because sometimes you can't mix the two, because you're looked at in a negative light, but then you're trying to do positive things.
Right.
So that negativity always going to override that positive. So we have to get these people out of the way, because people are following them. And once you get people following, I mean, you from the struggle, you understand. And once you get to a certain level, and we didn't think we were at that level, but we wasn't even at the level where they were saying we were, but we did have community backing, and I think we got to wipe these guys out and let the community go back to where they were, and not lifting up to saying, oh no, that's wrong,
Right.
So
with everything that's going on in our community today, do you think that there is a need for, is it police reform or abolishment?
When you say abolishment, you're saying?
Do we need to have the police? Because some are saying we don't need the police.
Like when they're saying defund the police,
yes,
or take funds away. I mean, I think resources should be given to the community. I mean, I think it's people in the community that have an understanding of what's going on, or have certain levels of, I don't want to say power, certain levels of respect from people in the community, where if you set something up and brought in people that have that respect, if they want to be a part of it, because a lot of people think a lot of this stuff is just propaganda. You're just putting it out there to say you're doing something, but you're not really doing anything.
Right.
And a lot of people don't want to be a part of that. A lot of people really want change. But I think you have to empower the community. I mean, you're giving the police force power to run around, and we know they do illegal stuff. And some of these kids do need to be knocked upside the head, but not to the point where you're abusing them. Right. You know what I mean? And I think we just need to empower the community. I'm not going to say take the strength away from the police officers, because we need police. I mean, to police our communities, but I don't think they police it in the right way. Like, I ride by certain neighborhoods, I see a police car sitting there, there's 2 officers sitting in the car for 8 hours. They never get out the car. I mean, you have to understand the community you're working in. You have to, when I say police it, not ride by, you have to go interact with who's in the community. Right. And when something happens, sometimes those people will be the first one to say, you know what, I know Officer such and such, I'm going to give them a call and give them a tip of what's going on. Right. I might not tell them who the exact person is, but I'm going to put you on the right path so you could eliminate this person. Because some people in the community will turn on people if they think they're destroying their actual community. You know, they don't want them there, because now you're a threat to me as well.
You remind me, a couple of weeks ago, I put on my post, there was an incident that happened on Broad and Market with the police. This young lady, they said that she had done something, I don't know exactly what it was, because there was so many things that people were saying that she had done, and she had been choked by a police officer, allegedly choked by a police officer. Right. What I noticed that was so key to me, because the reason why I posted is because I wanted to make sure, like, if anything happened, I got some footage, So anyway, what I observed was the brothers and sisters, they knew the police officers knew them. And I think were it not for the fact that the police officers didn't know them, the outcome would have been different. Right. And so I'm sitting back listening to the young men saying, well, you know me, and then they said, well, yeah, I do know you. And like the conversation was one of such, I don't want you to do anything. And I said, see, that's the key thing of us having police officers in our community who, as you said, who know the community, who don't just sit in these cars. Right. They get out and they get to know who the community is. Because once the community know that you are someone who care about us, then we're all respecting each other. Right. And I think that was like really key to me.
And not to venture off, but even with like police, like I said, I grew up in the projects. I think we moved in Hayes Homes in about 1972, 73. We moved out in 87. So I was in there for 15 years. I never saw the police. I never saw the police come in my neighborhood. Like, it was like, don't go in there.
Right.
Let those people fend for themselves, or if it's that much of an emergency, we'll come. But I never saw a police officer. I never got stopped by an officer until I moved on Chadwick.
Wow.
Never. Like, you know what I mean? And it was like, I don't know. It's like, you know, when you grow up in the projects, you're not on the corner. I mean, you know, your building is not on the street. So when you're living in the community, you're right. The police could ride right up on you. So I never experienced that. So when we moved over there, it was like a different type of like, this is what the police do. Like, I had no idea. I used to see it on TV, police beating people or whatever, but I never experienced it until I moved out of the project. So, but I mean, I just think the community and the police they have to work together because, I mean, we were confrontational with the police. Don't get me wrong. I mean, a couple of times, my friends actually fought the police on Chadwick, and they had to come, and after a while, they would just ride by us. They wouldn't even say anything to us because these guys are gonna stand up for their rights if we're not right. You know what I mean? When they understand that you know your rights, they don't bother you as much, but it was a respect thing. We used to tell them, we let you work in our community. We live here. You don't live here, so you can't just come here and tell us, go over here, go. No, we live here. So let's have that mutual respect. And some officers we had to respect with, they would pull up, like, we working today, 3 to 11, y'all gotta go.
Yes.
So it's like, you got it.
Right.
And it was that simple, not rolling up, jumping out, everybody get on the car, put your hands on the car. For what? We ain't even doing nothing, we just standing here, but.
This is another form of harassment.
Another form of harassment.
In our community.
You know, and what's the name? Ronald Reagan started that mess with that war on drugs.
Oh yes, absolutely, just say no.
So I mean, I just think we need to bridge the gap with the police and the community, but you know, and it's always people on the forefront like yourself. I know you used to be you probably still are on the forefront, and you know, I see Donna Jackson. It's not enough people, you know, and there are people in the community, but then they're afraid because if I come out, oh, they're gonna try to do this to me, or nah, just you for the people. I mean, it's not that you can be for the people, you know, and I mean, but we've known history, so that kind of stops people from doing it, because once you become to a certain level, they try to not just kill you, discredit you, humiliate you, or make you out to be something that you're really not, you know, and people don't want to deal with that sometimes. So
to fast forward, because we have this is a half an hour show.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'll get I don't have a watch on right now, but I'll get the signal that we're winding down and everything. So to fast forward, you are now a coach. What made you decide to become a coach? And also, you work at the school that you graduated from, Central High,
which feels great.
Okay, that feels great. Yes.
Yeah, because I'm from there. That's, you know, and I always wanted to go there. It wasn't just, you know, just to go because my friends were there. Central had history back then. My mom, you know, rest in peace, graduated from Central. My dad went to Central, so you know, it's like Central Ward. That's just you're supposed to go to Central, like that's you know, that was just back then. That's your neighborhood school. That's where everybody's going.
And you also ran for Central Ward Councilman.
Twice.
Yes.
The first one, I mean, what made me start coaching basketball actually, when I was 16, I was in 11th grade. I used to hang in New Community, you know, New Community. I used to hang over there, you know, because some of the kids, you know, that's a neighborhood. Everybody in the same neighborhood knew each other. So I would hang in New Community all the time. And one day they said they were throwing a league for the kids ages 9 to 12. So I asked the guy that was running the league, here I am, 16, running the league. He said, the league is only for kids in New Community. We're gonna have a draft, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, but I have some kids in my neighborhood. At the time, I was also hanging in Fairview Homes, which was right across the street. It's still there. It was right across the street from my building. And I said, no, I got some kids from my neighborhood. My brother was about 10 at the time. And I said, no, I could bring some kids over. He was like, you sure? He was like, you sure you can handle coaching kids? And I'm like, yeah, you know, how hard is it, you know? And I gathered up kids in my community whether they could play or not. He said you could have 12 kids. We got 12 shirts. Got 12 kids together. We started practicing in West Kenny Playground, which is now Newark Vocational. We practiced in Newton Street School Playground, which was in New Community, and we used Cleveland. So I didn't have a gym. We would get up Saturday mornings, 8 o'clock. I'm 16.
Right.
And I'm being responsible for 12 kids ages, I say they was 9 to 12. You know, the youngest kid probably was 9. And we would walk to New Community and play in the league twice a week in the summertime.
Okay.
And that's what my coaching started.
Okay, and so now you're coaching champions. You just won.
Yeah, well, we won the conference this year. I mean, at Central, I've won probably 5 or 6 conference championships since I've been there. We won a state championship. We lost twice in the state championship. So we've been, you know, when I first got there, and I got to Central, I started coaching in 2003. Yeah, I took over the head coaching job in 2006. But before I got there, Central was like, you know, you look at some teams on your schedule and you go, oh, that's a win, that's a win. That was Central. Everybody looked at Central. That's a win, that's a win. We're going to beat. Now it's like, oh, we play Central. You know, we're going to have to play. Like, you know, so we turned the culture around, you know, because when I was there, we were good in basketball. And then it fell off in the 90s. And, you know, so I started coaching there. I was doing zoo crew outside of school. I had kids in the community. We would travel out of state. And then one day I was playing in the summer league that Newark Public Schools ran, that they don't run anymore. And the coach at Central at the time, Mr. Blue, was like, hey, how would you feel like coming back coaching at Central? And I said, yeah. I said, what I got to do to coach?
Yeah.
He said, well, you graduated college. I said, yeah. He said, you only needed 60 college credits. Go down to the board, apply. Blah, blah, blah. Then I was like, I don't know if I want to do that because then I'm going to lose touch with the kids in the community because I'm more hands-on because I'm in the community with different kids. It's not just, and he said, no, well, those kids, you know, if they can play basketball, you get them to come to Central and now you can watch them when they get to Central. And I thought about it and I went down to the board, got the paperwork, I put it in, came back, denied. Like they didn't give it to me. And I was like, dang, what happened? I had an open charge from 1987, I got arrested. Okay. 87, I had an open charge where I took probation. If I would have known what I knew now, I would have took nothing and probably got the cake.
You know, that's just gonna just take me to a whole nother discussion because what happens, as you already know, a lot of people, so that they can just leave or go home or whatever, they'll take a plea.
Right. And I took a
not
plea.
realizing that they're getting a felony.
Right.
By doing that.
And I didn't understand that at the time. I got probation, I had a year probation, I had to pay a fine, and I did it. Right. Not realizing this is on my record now. Right. So when I went and applied for the Board of Education, they said we don't take people with felonies. So I talked to, I don't know if you
have to get it expunged?
Right. I talked to Miss Williams, who was a big help. She's retired.
Who, Evelyn?
What's Miss Williams? No, it wasn't Evelyn.
Okay.
She used to coach Shabazz. She became the director.
I know you're talking about.
Director of athletics, Annette Williams. She became the director of athletics for the board. Went and talked to her. I said, Ms. Williams, I got a charge. You know, she knew me personally. Oh, you work with kids. We would love to have you working with the board. And she said, this is what you do. Just go get it expunged. She was like, how old was it? And at that time, it was 15 years old. Never knew about expungement.
Right.
None of that. So I went. Talked to some people. My cousin who was working at the county, she did all the paperwork for me. I sent all this stuff in and it came back. It's been expunged. So I reapplied for the board and I got in. I was like, oh, wow. At the time I was working for Essex County Mental Health and I was trying to figure out how come that did, but I never did fingerprints with them. So maybe that's why. But I was working with Essex County Mental Health. I started working there in 98 and I left in 95. Okay. So I left a job with benefits, a salary to go sub. Okay, because that's how bad I wanted to coach. Yes. So I gave up stuff to, you know, I started making less because I wanted to help the kids. That was my goal. Well,
I'm so glad that you did that, and I am so happy that you got your record expunged because, like you said, a lot of people don't know about getting, because certain records cannot be expunged, but many of them can be. So I just want to thank you because now I have to wrap it up. Oh, okay. You see how it just goes by like real fast, right? Yeah. I just want to thank you so much, you know, for coming on and for sharing your story with us. I'm sure that the audience appreciate the story that you told us as far as working with the youth and why you decided to become a coach, because coaching is so important. So I want to thank you. Do you think that you're living your purpose?
I think I am. I think I can do more, but
You will do more.
For right now, I think I'm living my purpose. It's tough though, because it seems like, when you have a vision and a purpose, and you think people have the same, not the same vision and purpose, but we was always told that everybody loves the kids, and doing this, I can attest that everybody doesn't love the kids.
That is true, and we're going to stop there, because your vision is your vision.
Right.
So you keep on living your vision.
Right.
And I want to thank the audience once again for joining me today with a phenomenal young man who is working in our community, Mr. Shawn McCray, Coach Shawn McCray. Thank you.